Take a look at the modern truck market. It's shiny, it's powerful. It's comfortable enough to make a luxury sedan jealous. Heated seats, cooled seats, massaging seats, giant touch screens that look like they belong in a spaceship. And on paper, it's all impressive. But somewhere along the way, between the leather stitching and the software updates, we lost something important. We lost the truck. Because a truck was never supposed to be a rolling living room. It wasn't designed to impress your neighbors or sync with your phone. A truck was built to work, to haul, to last, to get you home even when everything else failed. Today, a well-equipped half-ton can push past $80,000 without breaking a sweat. $80,000, that's not just a vehicle anymore. That's a massive financial commitment. That's years of payments. That's something you hesitate to scratch, hesitate to use, and hesitate to truly own. And what do you get in return? A machine packed with sensors, wrapped in plastic, constantly updating and quietly collecting data about everything you do. Meanwhile, sitting in a barn, or parked behind a shop, or still running strong on a back road somewhere, is an old truck, simple, mechanical, honest. The kind of truck your grandpa used to drive. And today, we're going to talk about why that old truck, the one everyone overlooks, might actually be better in all of the ways that matter. Not because of nostalgia, but because of how it was built, how it was meant to be used, and what it represents. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Money. Back in the mid-90s, a base model truck was exactly what it sounded like. A base. Vinyl floors, manual windows, bench seat, maybe a radio if you were lucky. It wasn't trying to be anything other than a tool, and it cost about $15,000. Adjusted for today's money, that's roughly $30,000. Now, look at today's truck market. Try walking onto a dealership lot and asking for a true work truck. You'll notice something right away. They don't really exist anymore. Everything is packaged, everything is bundled, everything is upgraded. And even the most basic trucks on the lot run $45,000 to $55,000 if you're lucky. Most are far beyond that, sitting around $65,000 and more. And here's where it gets worse. Depreciation. The moment you drive a new truck off the lot, it loses value. Not a little, but a lot. 20% gone, just like that. In the first year alone, you're watching thousands of dollars disappear for the privilege of being the first owner. But an old truck, it's already taken that hit. It's already lived that life. When you buy something like a clean, well-maintained older diesel or a late 90s, early 2000s half-ton with a V8, you're not buying into depreciation. You're buying into stability. There's a very real chance that 3 years from now, you can sell that truck for exactly what you paid, or even more, because good, simple trucks don't go out of style. They become harder to find. And buying old means you own the truck. Buying new means the bank owns you for the next 6, 7, sometimes even 8 years. So you've got to ask yourself, which one sounds more like freedom to you? Now, let's pop the hood. Go ahead and picture a modern truck engine bay. What do you see? Plastic covers, wiring harnesses, sensors stacked on top of sensors, emission systems layered on top of everything else. It's tight, it's crowded, and it's incredibly complicated. Now, picture an older truck, mid-80s, early 90s to 2000s. You lift the hood and everything just makes sense. You see the engine, you see the belts, the alternator. The spark plugs are right there. And most importantly, you see space. Space to work, space to reach, space to fix things, without needing a specialized degree or a manufacturer login. Old trucks were designed with the assumption that the owner might actually work on them. That wasn't an accident. That was the whole point. If your starter went out back then, 2 bolts, half an hour, and you're back on the road. Today there are trucks where major repairs require lifting the entire cab off the frame. Not because it's better, but because it's the only way to access what's underneath. And then there's the cost. A simple mechanical part on an older truck, something like a fuel pump, might cost you $45. You can pick it up almost anywhere, install it yourself, and be done before lunch. Now compare that to a newer modern engine. A high-pressure fuel system component can cost thousands. And if it fails, it doesn't just fail, it can destroy everything connected to it. sending all kinds of junk through the system, turning a repair into a complete fuel system replacement. That's not just incredibly inconvenient. That's the difference between fixing your truck and losing it entirely. Now here's where things get interesting. Modern trucks are incredibly capable. There's no denying that. They tow more, they accelerate faster, and they handle heavy loads with ease. But capability and reliability are not the same thing. A modern truck might tow 12,000 pounds effortlessly, but the real question is, will it still be doing that 20 years from now? Because to achieve that level of performance, manufacturers have added layers of complexity. Turbochargers, cylinder deactivation, advanced transmissions with 10 speeds or more, sophisticated computer systems managing everything in real time. And every single one of those components is a potential failure point. Old trucks took a different approach. They were overbuilt and understressed. A naturally aspirated V8 making 200 horsepower wasn't pushing the limits. It was barely breaking a sweat. No extreme pressures, no extreme temperatures, no dependency on software behaving perfectly. And that's why you still see them on the road today. 30-year-old trucks hauling hay, pulling trailers, starting every morning without complaint, while newer trucks just a few years old are being traded in or stuck at the dealership mechanic, waiting on back-ordered parts or software updates because something electric failed or something expensive broke. And it's not that new trucks are completely terrible, it's that they're fragile in ways that old trucks never were. And when it comes to the old versus new truck argument, it doesn't matter if it's this old body style F250 or this newer F150XLT right here. They all get terrible gas mileage. If you've been to the pump lately, you probably noticed that gas is crazy expensive. And it's not just your fuel that's more expensive now. Now, let's talk about something that sounds like an upgrade, but often becomes a problem. Technology. In theory, technology should be making trucks better, more efficient, more convenient, easier to use. But somewhere along the way, it became overwhelming. Modern trucks feel less like machines and more like devices. Touchscreens control everything: climate, radio, navigation, even basic vehicle settings. And when it works, it's totally fine. But when it doesn't, you're stuck. Because you can't just fix software. You can't just turn a wrench on a glitch. 10 years from now, what happens when that massive screen starts failing? When updates stop, when parts are discontinued, the truck doesn't age gracefully, it becomes completely obsolete. And old trucks don't have that problem. They have buttons, knobs, switches you can feel without looking. You can adjust the heat with gloves on, change the radio without taking your eyes off the road. It's simple, it's tactile, and buttons just work. And maybe most importantly, it trusts you. It doesn't beep at you for every little thing. It doesn't try to take control. It assumes that you know how to drive and use that vehicle. And when it comes to old trucks, there's a lot of reasons why I love old trucks, and a lot of other. People love old trucks as well. I feel like I'm in old truck heaven when I go to this dealership. I'm at Pacific Motors here in Boise, Idaho, and they always have a lot of old body style Fords, and sometimes they'll have some older Toyotas as well. But this F250 old body style is one of the most popular old trucks that you could buy right now. And it's one of the first older trucks that comes to mind when people say, "Do you like old trucks?" And old trucks like these F250S or square body Chevys or even old Toyotas are popular for several reasons. For one, the clean lines of the body. You've got this square, boxy look that's super simple, but also really classic and good looking at the same time. Not only do these old trucks look really, really good, they're also a lot more functional than new trucks. And I don't mean functional as in new trucks have a lot of other functions and techie things. I mean functional as in it's so simple that everything is easy to use. The tailgate is just a simple, clean, one-piece unit. You pull the handle right here, it comes down, lays flat, and you can throw all your stuff in the back. It doesn't have any motors or hydraulics that will break and be expensive to replace. And it doesn't have that annoying multi-function tailgate like some of the Fords and GMCs do. The bed has one simple purpose, and that's to haul all your crap. And the inside gets even simpler from there. Just click this old antique door handle. You look at the door, and there's your locks and your switches. And then the interior, you get the classic analog gauges instead of the stupid screen, because a lot of F-150s are just an entire complete screen now. And then moving across to the center dash, some vehicles are replacing the old nostalgic radio and AC controls with everything in one unit. So they'll have these giant screens, especially like the Toyotas with the massive screens on the new Tundras. I much prefer the simplicity of these old trucks. You've got your radio here on top with all the button controls, and then you have the simple switch controlled air conditioning. Not to mention, these old trucks have really cool center consoles where you can flip it up and have a bench seat as well. And of course, a bench seat in the back for all your friends or maybe even your dog or your stuff. But the simplicity isn't just on the exterior and the interior. The simplicity goes down to the engine bay as well. A lot of people miss the times where engines were like this. Clean, simple. You could get to everything without taking the entire cab off, like they do in the F-250S. Parts are cheap. You can work on it with most hand tools in your garage. And there's no computer system in here that's going to track your car and know where you are at all times. And the government will never be able to shut this engine off remotely. Now, an old truck doesn't just have to be something from the 90s like this OBS Ford. You can also get something like this Ford that's about 8 to 10 years old. And I think it's still that good mix of modern technology with the old school feel. Just by going in the interior, you can see we've got the simple door switches, locks, and then of course added electronic mirrors, which is a feature of new cars that is kinda nice. But then stepping into the interior of this 2019 F-150, you have your analog gauges on the side, and just a small screen right in the middle, instead of being an entire full screen. And then of course, you have a little bit of a screen here in the middle to control your navigation and radio. And this still has physical buttons for the climate control, and this also has the bench seat center console. And I think as time goes on and electronics just overtake new vehicles, trucks like this OBS Ford are just going to become more and more popular. And that brings us into something that doesn't show up on a spec sheet, something most people don't even think about when buying a truck: privacy. Modern vehicles are connected constantly. They have built-in cellular systems, data collection, and tracking capabilities. These modern trucks monitor just about everything: how you drive, how fast you go, how hard you brake, where you go. And in many cases, you can't fully turn it off. That data doesn't just sit there, it gets used. Insurance companies can access it, manufacturers can review it, and in some situations, it can even be used against you. Imagine taking your off-road truck off-road. Something breaks, you file a warranty claim, and the manufacturer checks the data. And once they check that data, they decide that you were using the truck too aggressively. Claim denied. That's not a theory. That's the direction things are heading. Now, compare that to an old truck. No connection, no tracking, no silent reporting. It doesn't know where you are, and it doesn't care when you're driving it. It's just you and the open road. And in today's world, that kind of freedom is exceptionally rare. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't tell you about buying a new truck. If you go to just about any dealership, whether it's Ford, Chevy, GMC, Ram, or even Toyota, you're going to notice a pretty big trend here. And the trend is not that good. This is a perfect example of new truck trends that are just getting a little bit out of control. The first one is this tailgate. Most of us just need a simple tailgate like this one, that you pull the handle, it drops down, and that's it. You just drop it down and close it. Simple as that. But if you look at this new tailgate, it is super complicated. You'll notice it splits right here in the middle. And not only does the whole thing drop down, which is perfect, but this acts like a door that just swings out so you can just toss stuff in without flipping the whole thing down. Not only is it too complicated, it also adds to the price of the truck. And adding more stuff that makes a vehicle more complicated, harder to repair, and making the price even higher than it already is kind of insane. Because as you can see here, this 2026 4x4 Super Crew with the 3.5-liter EcoBoost has an MSRP of $86,155. But if you want a moonroof right there, that's $1,500. But adding more and more cost to a vehicle that's $86,000, I mean, that's just completely insane. Prices of new trucks have gotten totally out of control, and it's not just that truck that I think the prices are out of control on. And you would think if you stepped down from a Platinum and got something like this XLT, it wouldn't be too expensive. maybe 45 grand. But you would be totally wrong. This F-150XLT right here has an MSRP of $66,740, and it has cloth seats. When we think about an old truck, most of the time we're thinking about something like this F-150XL. We're thinking a workhorse with 2 doors and a long truck bed. And in our minds as truck buyers, we're thinking this might be like 30 grand or even less, because it's a simple truck. 2 doors, long truck bed, nothing complicated. However, the price of this is probably going to blow your mind, because I was a little shocked by it as well. So, for this 2-door work-spec truck, just a regular pickup truck workhorse with a long bed, you're looking at $45,375, and it's got the 2.7-liter EcoBoost. It doesn't even have a V8 engine. And beyond the price of new F-150S, which have gotten completely insane, there's also the problems. Ford has more recalls in the past year than any other manufacturer, like over 150. And compare that to any other truck brand, which might have 10 or 20. It's absolutely ridiculous. Not only are you paying a higher price for these new Ford trucks, you're also getting less quality. It doesn't just stop at Ford. Other brands are having the same problem with high prices and low quality. Toyota used to build one of the most reliable trucks in the world, like this previous generation Toyota. These Tundras with the iForce 5 8S could be driven up to 1 million miles or more before they even needed an engine rebuild. As long as you took care of the normal maintenance like timing belts, oil changes, and spark plugs, and just other routine things, this old Tundra was something that was built to last virtually forever. But that's just not the case anymore with the latest generation of the new Tundra. You see, these have the twin-turbo V6, and this has been nothing but a problem child engine for Toyota over the last few years, since the release of this truck. The new twin-turbo V6 in the Tundras have been known to fail, to the tune of over 10,000 Tundras that have already had, or need to have, their engines replaced. And not only are the engines failing on the new Tundras, the prices have gotten just as high as buying an F-150. As an example, this SR5 Tundra right here is $58,654 for one of the lowest trim levels of a Tundra that you can get. And if you want something like this TRD Platinum, it gets even crazier at $76,484. And don't even get me started on what a new TRD Pro will cost. That's just completely insane. Now, Toyota is not the only truck brand struggling with engine problems. If you take a look at this GMC, they're having big issues as well, specifically with this one and the 6.2-liter V8 engine. The 6.2-liter V8 engines in the GM trucks, that's GMC and Chevy, are either locking up in the middle of someone driving or basically shooting pistons out the side due to a lot of bearing issues. And not only do the 6.2 engines have huge failures, the new GMC trucks also have something complicated that I showed you at Ford as well. They did their own version of like a fancy flip-down tailgate, but this one's even weirder because it goes across and only goes up about halfway. And so, this does flip down to give you easier access. And of course, the whole tailgate will fold down with it as well. And I can see if you're a short person how this would help, but it's still going to be very expensive to fix if this tailgate breaks. And that's where all these new vehicles between just about every truck brand is a little bit frustrating. You've got all these features that, yes, in some ways they make things more convenient, but it also just continues to add complexity and makes it harder to fix them, and more expensive to fix them as things break. And when new trucks have more things that make it complicated, it just becomes more expensive in the long term to own. So, here's the final question. Are new trucks better? Well, on paper, yes. They're faster, they're safer in a crash, they're more refined. They have more features, better cup holders, better sound systems, basically better everything, except the things that really matter the most. Because a truck isn't supposed to be a luxury item, it's supposed to be a tool. And a good tool is simple, reliable, affordable, and understandable. It doesn't fight you, it doesn't watch you, it doesn't punish you for using it the way it was meant to be used. An old truck gives you that. It gives you control, it gives you independence, it gives you something you can actually own. Not just finance, not just operate, but truly understand. So you can keep your massive screens, your monthly payments, your plastic engine covers. I'll take the vent windows, the bench seat, the sound of a simple engine doing exactly what it was built to do, and a truck that, with a little care, will probably outlive all of us. If you've ever turned a wrench in your driveway, if you've ever trusted an engine because you understood it, if you've ever climbed into an old truck and felt like you were getting into something real, then you already know there's just something different about them. And it's not just the sound or the look or even the way they drive, it's the feeling that what you're sitting in was built to last, built to work, built to mean something. So, if you still believe a truck should be a truck, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video, because we're going to keep talking about the machines that earned their reputation the hard way. The ones that didn't need software updates to stay relevant. The ones that are still out there proving themselves every single day. And I want to hear from you down in the comments. What's the one old truck that you would never sell? Or even one you regret selling? Maybe it's the first truck you ever bought. Or maybe it's just that one rig you've kept alive through sheer stubbornness and a box of tools. Whatever it is, drop it below. Because those stories, they matter. They're part of what keeps this whole old truck thing alive. And if you still got one sitting in the driveway or tucked away in a garage somewhere, don't let it go. Take care of it, drive it. Keep it on the road where it belongs. Because once these trucks are gone, they're not coming back.